Hello folks, I'm Bear Wiseman here behind the camera, and I'm back off the record once again with Toni Kakko and Tommy Portimo of Sonata Arctica. And we're going to be looking back over the 30-year history, or maybe the slightly older history, of Sonata Arctica, since you guys have this anniversary tour and everything coming up. So, focusing a little bit more on the older material, since, you know, we've already talked about your new albums when they came out. But I've never had the chance to talk to you guys about anything from, like, before 2015, basically. So, just to kick things off, how's the new year been treating you guys so far?
So far, so good. Work for me personally, a lot of it, writing material for the next album. We are hitting the studio at the same time while we are on this tour, and recording the next album, obviously. And other than that, enjoying the Nordic weather. It's been very cold beginning of the year, so it serves me at least really well.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I had a couple of months off, total off with family, and enjoying the cold weather up north. And it's been really, really nice and refreshing to just have a day off, have it off. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to these anniversary shows, how much do you guys make the plans versus, like, the label or things like that? Like, how much fun do you guys get to have versus how much is kind of an obligation that you have to do?
This is pretty much 100% us, the whole thing. We've never ever really been told by label what to do. Of course, they have great ideas and they want to release a collection or whatever, and then we comply or not. And so it's like us doing what we are and what we want to do, basically.
Yeah.
It's easy as that.
I think that's probably good, though. If you're an artist, you don't really want to make art if someone's forcing you.
No, well, if you want to make it a business thing, then it would be smart to work with people who are, good at the business side of things. But that was really not our prerogative, really. Never more like art first, and then let's see what we can do about it and do with it.
Fair enough.
What they can do with it.
Fair enough, yeah. Well, you guys have been a pretty household name in the metal scene for a few decades at this point, so what would you say was your vision of what it was to be a musician kind of back when you started, when you were still called Tricky Beans, versus what your idea of a musician is nowadays?
Personally, I never had a vision to be a musician. So, when everything started, I was 14. And when we started the band, it was just a bunch of friends having fun. So there was no kind of vision to have a career or anything like that.
Yeah, when I was like maybe 3 or 4 years old, and I was asked by this elderly gentleman at the bus stop what I want to be when I grow up. And I said, I'm going to be a singer. Oh, yeah, you're going to be like opera singer. No, I'm going to be a rock singer. So I was very young when I said that, and things happened, and here I am, living the dream. So, but I never really aimed towards that or worked towards being a rock singer or a musician in general. I was just, going with the flow pretty much, and I'm trying to be a good human being, and I still trust that good things happen to good people. So it's been a nice ride. And here I am doing this musician thing still, although there would have been other options available, obviously, but music chose me and us, and I'm very pleased with this.
Well, you guys emerged kind of during the same era as the infamous Kari Niemi reviews of Nightwish and Children of Bodom. So what was the media saying about you guys in, like, the first few years? Do you remember? And did you ever get a biting review from Mr. Niemi?
I can't recall. Probably, yeah. That was such a long time ago, and as there was no really internet wasn't there, so getting the reviews and such, it wasn't that easy. We were probably, all the information and the reviews we got was either whatever papers we were you know, subscribing to and getting them home, like Soundy or whatever, and then some kind of collection of reviews that we got from our label, and they probably got some of the worst one out. so I haven't really seen anything, or at least I'm not scarred by anything back in the day.
That's for the best, probably. Well, do you have any thoughts on the changes in the music industry over the years? Like, has everything gotten worse, or are there things that are actually better now?
The last couple of years has been like very bad when it comes to being an artist, and I can imagine that I really like it's such a pity that if you are a talented artist of any kind and you come up with something wonderful, a song for example, if you compose a beautiful or great hit song, nobody will believe you that you have actually written that song. And that's a fact. That's we have lost that adventure because everybody can just, you know, prompt a song and that's it. And it's such a shame, and that's the worst thing that has happened to any kind of art, I think. Like a lot of people have said that I want to create art and let AI do all the shit that I do not want to touch.
Yeah.
So I just want to enjoy making art, and that's something that should be the thing everybody should be paying attention to. There are a lot of legal things, and I could dig really deep with this thing, but yeah. What things have gotten better? That's a very difficult question, really.
So, like, is like recording tech any better? Because a lot of people still prefer analog. So.
Analog is great. Of course, you know, yeah, that's a good point. You know, everybody has a studio back, like home, one kind of or another.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have, but that's better in a way, but then at the same time it is dividing people in like you're not getting together to be in the studio and working and letting that kind of magic happen anymore so much because everybody's, you know, recording their stuff back home and not letting other people influence you and let those happy accidents that are the salt and pepper of any great art happen, the mistakes.
Yeah, it was really fun, the studio sessions at the beginning when you hear when you had a recorded drums, and then you start hearing people are adding layers to the songs, and that's not gonna happen nowadays.
Well, it can, but it's very expensive in the studio unless you have like good enough studio where you can have all that happen. Yeah. But then again, our band, we have spread all over Finland. Me and Tommy and Henkka, we live north and two other guys south, and that sort of makes the spontaneous get-together and jam sessions really difficult to make happen, and it's a process. And everybody's got families and everything, so it's
the convenience of the home studio is nice, even if it's
very nice to have that. But still, is it better? That is questionable.
You're kind of trading the cost of travel for the cost of all the equipment. So
in my life currently, I very much prefer the home studio, though. You know, it's so nice.
Well, some people from metal bands who've been around for a long time, and I'm sure it's not just metal, it's probably all art really, but they kind of hit a point where they get a bit tired of being on the road all the time, but then it's also really necessary to make your living, and you know, you get older and you have families, and maybe the rock and roll lifestyle is not that exciting anymore. And have you ever had to kind of face off against that specific type of exhaustion about like being an artist and how kind of much it takes away from you, really, that it's not really included in how people talk about like the rock star life? So I wonder how many people are kind of blindsided by that.
Yeah, well, there was a time before the COVID that we were kind of burned out because we were touring many years, tour album. I don't know how many years we did that. Of course, especially for Tony, when we had off and Tony had to compose all the songs. So it was like basically 24/7 music for many years. So yeah, then we had a forced off for 2 years. So even though it was really sad time or not that fun, but at the end
it was a godsend thing to happen for us, for our band. We are in a much better place after that forced break. But anyway, you know, we never were that rock band that we are living the stereotypical approach of rock band.
We're getting
Of course,
drunk
everybody-
and trashing hotel rooms.
Yeah, of course, you know, there have been moments and shit has happened and we have done a lot of things, but you know, we never dove into that really that deep. That it didn't become our image, and we are probably known as one of the nicest bands around in that sense.
One of my buddies who's been like one of your most diehard fans for as long as you've been around told me to ask if you still have any comments on the old Rhapsody tour or if that horse has been beaten to death at this point.
It's still the one tour that I look back most fondly. It was an amazing tour. It was, you know, we were just kids and we just got to enjoy the ride and learn and see magic happening and it was a dream come true, especially, you know, we being the huge Stradivarius fans and all that. Everybody knows that. So getting to spend 7 weeks on tour with that band and in the same bus with Rhapsody.
yeah.
It was a learning experience for everybody. Us and Rhapsody at least.
Yeah.
Wonderful times. And I'm never getting tired of talking about it either, so...
Well, at this point, if you could give any advice to budding artists, be they metal or not, would you have anything to say?
Let music choose you. Music is a great hobby. I always say this, that it's not a bliss to have it as a profession. To be like putting all your eggs in that I'm going to be a rock star basket. That's probably the worst deal. There's like the competition is really heavy, and you need to be prepared to do things that we didn't need to be prepared to do, like the social media thing. How important it is to have that kind of appeal and be ready to be available for fans through your social media channels, like 24/7 basically, or constantly putting something out, and that can burn you out really quickly. So if you are getting into it, get help. Someone handle the social media for you or something. Like, of course you do stuff, but like if you wanna have a whatever you call this, like posting old photos, kind of Friday kind of things. If you want to do those, let someone else take care of it. It's fun and you can do it for a while. But when you have enough rotations and life starts to happen slowly. When you have a family, for example, it's certainly feeling like it eats a hell of a lot of your time. And you want to be doing something totally different, like writing songs maybe, or spending time with people who matter, instead of, you know, providing material and something on some kind of feed that is probably loved by many, but still, it's just, it can be hard. I'm very tired of social media, and you can tell.
Yeah, I think that's one of the like craziest parts about the music industry now, is that a lot of people feel like no one will pick you up unless you already have a following, and isn't that kind of the point of getting a label or help or whatever in the first place?
Exactly.
I've never really understood this.
You need to be able to show the labels that you are able to be a product, and you can build yourself up instead of consuming their resources to become something.
That's ultimately the reason why I decided to be an indie writer instead of pursuing traditional publishing, because I write fantasy books these days instead of journalism, because journalism never paid me anything. So even sadder than the artists are those of us who cover the artists. But yeah, it's the same sort of thing, that publishers won't take a writer if they don't have like over 10,000 followers. And like, well, the writer's too busy writing to have a following. How does this make sense?
Exactly.
Well, has your taste in music changed significantly over the years? Like, the types of music you listened to back when you were starting out and who you listen to now, is there a notable shift over the years?
Of course, I still love the same stuff I loved back in the day, but it's just, gotten so much wider. I would not have even imagined listening to black metal or blues or Johnny Cash kind of stuff or whatever. It's just pretty much everything and anything goes these days, as long as it's good. There's so much. I can't just pick one genre and say that this is the thing, but there is so much good stuff and shitty shit on all the genres, and you just need to pick your favorites there, and it's very difficult these days because there's so much of everything available. So.
Yeah, the music now, what I listen in nowadays, haven't been. It would have been impossible when I was a teenage. It's really, really easygoing music what I'm listening nowadays. So, yeah. Back in the days it was more punk rock and stuff like that.
For me, so it's like flavor of the month. And I usually seem to migrate towards the older band. I'm discovering bands that I didn't like back in the day. Like, I knew they were there, but, trying to get back into the analog world in a way. Vinyls and stuff.
I relate to that because I've been getting more into physical media again. Most of my CDs I bought back when I lived in Canada 17 years ago, so I didn't necessarily want to haul those over to Finland, so I mostly gave them all to friends and that sort of thing. And I'm like, damn, I really miss having like a gigantic stereo with big speakers and a 5-disc changer and a vinyl player. It took up a huge amount of space, but it was also kind of nice.
Yeah, it's just feels so much better.
So let's talk some albums at this point, and since Ecliptica was kind of long enough ago, I don't want to ask too many specifics, but do you remember any like thoughts or feelings or weird moments or memories from putting that first album together that maybe kind of surprise you nowadays as like, whoa, how did that happen?
It was just one big haze. I remember certain moments from the recordings and then creating those songs, like writing some certain songs of what I was doing back at that time. But like everything was so new, and it's sometimes and everything was moving so fast back in the day. Although nowadays everything moves even faster, but still it was all new, and so I wasn't able to take it all in, and I felt I had a certain amount of responsibility over the material. Although everybody seemed to like what songs we had there and all that, but it was just super nervous. I was super very nervous and excited about being able to have an album out on an actual label, Spine Farm, and which I had never even heard of before.
But it was a label.
It was a label. I knew Nightwish was there, and I was their fan.
But like Tony said, everything moved so fast, so maybe that's why I can't remember basically anything about the studio session of Ecliptica, because it was like...
It's a crazy blur.
Yeah. And it was maybe 2 weeks that we recorded the whole thing, and some days of mixing in Helsinki then on top of it. So, yeah.
Well, trying to pick one aspect or one song from these old albums was kind of a task, because there's so many just fun and interesting songs back there, and I was re-listening to like most of your albums the other day as I was coming up with these questions, and I thought, if I get to ask one question about Ecliptica, it's gotta be Kingdom for a Heart, because I personally discovered that song at one of like the geekiest phases of my life. So like to this day, I've never been able to decide if that song is like just way too much or if it's just perfect. But like it invokes like, video games like Kingdom Hearts, but then it's got like the kind of really over the top neoclassical harpsichord and these great lyrics and vocal melodies that are like halfway between romantic but also invoke the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. And so I've always just been kind of fascinated by this song. And at one point, someone on the internet, probably YouTube, had claimed that you, Tony, hate that song. And there was no reference, so I didn't know whether to believe that or not. So some 30 years later, how do you guys feel about Kingdom for a Heart?
I have no idea what I was thinking when I wrote the lyrics. And it's like, yeah, it's a fantasy lyric kind of thing, but I remember the songwriting process itself. I was listening to this Danish band called Royal Hunt back in the day a lot. We got an album from Mabe,
Yep.
so and a video as well. So that was something that influenced writing that song. They have like this keyboard thing, kind of things, and then I just sort of got into that and started noodling around with ideas that are resembling Royal Hunt that much. This is probably something I've never told anybody before. So there.
Sweet exclusives.
Yes.
Well, bands who've been around for ages always have what I call their smoke on the water, which is like, or your thunderstruck or whatever, but the song that you kind of always have to play to satisfy the fans. And, you know, Led Zeppelin had Stairway to Heaven, but they always lamented that they thought Kashmir was a better depiction of their sound. And so from your first album, of course, your must-play song is Full Moon. And if you could change that song to anything else from your, like, any album, really, like, if you could pick a new, this is the song that defines us, would you change it? Or would you just leave it as Full Moon?
I think if Full Moon is the defining song, I would just leave it be. Because it's still one of the highlights to play on the show, because people are reacting to it. You get a really good feedback, you know, playing that song. It always seems to be sort of highlight for people as well. It has interactive parts. You get to sing along and all that. Everybody knows what to do, and so yeah.
So it's not like the final countdown where the guy's like, God, I hate that song, but it's paying all my bills.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not like that at all. No.
That's good.
You know, if we sometimes leave it out of the set, like yeah, okay, sure. We haven't played that song on every set.
No. There was a time that we didn't play that live for I don't know how many years.
Mm.
That didn't make any sense though.
Fintroll stopped playing Trollhammaren for a while, and I think they survived, so.
yeah, but of course it comes back refreshed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta, like, give people a break so that they have to come out to hear Full Moon or whatever again.
Exactly.
Well, moving on to Silence, this is where the Caleb saga began with the end of this chapter. So, when you first wrote kind of the Stalker song, did you have any idea that it was going to become a whole thing, or at what point did you realize that it had become a whole thing?
I think when Caleb came out, that was... Oh, don't say a word. That was so song that I connected together with the end of this chapter. So that was like the idea that these songs are together. And but then only when Caleb came out on the next album, Linear, then I realized that okay, this has something that people seem to get into it, and they seem to like it, and also with its subject that is fun to write about, you know, this like stalker kind of story, and it allows me to sort of do different things musically as well, compose songs that have these weird quirky parts here and there, and different kind of melodies, and it's not about power metal, and everybody still gets it, and that this is like elemental part of what Sonata Arctica is about. And so it took some years, obviously, but I'm pretty sure on the next album there will be more. It's not a story that is like chronological or anything. It's just, you know, doodling around with the same subject area. Friday the 13th. It doesn't matter. There's no story really, but it's just, you know, the dude keeps coming back.
Is it always the same girl he's creeping on, or does it change?
I suppose it has to be always Juliet.
Okay.
So that's it.
So has anything about the story kind of surprised you in what you've come up with over the years?
Yeah, some really gnarly shit I would not have imagined putting on an album and singing it out loud. And you know, some pretty cool stuff there, here and there. And some kind of, you know, memory hooks that I remember certain things from this certain line that is like totally fucked up, but it reminds me of something else. And so the songs are always, or at their best, they are also sort of diary moments. In a way, although this is not about my life, but you know, you took certain things and dangled them around and used them as a part of a song. And that's how you bring life into the songs as well. Personal meaning.
Incredible. Well, again, there's so many songs on this album I could ask questions about, but the one that has for sure become one of the most fascinating cultural phenomena I've come across is Tallulah, or Tallulah as it is pronounced. And like listening to that song back when I lived in Canada, I was like, that's kind of a cute, maybe kind of geeky love ballad. I liked it for its kind of cheesy charm, but I didn't pay any sort of special attention to it. And then flash forward a few years living in Finland at my first Sonata Arctica show, and like half of the audience, regardless of age or gender, is weeping and holding someone and swaying, and I was just utterly baffled. And then it's been the same every single time I've been to see you guys, which has been about 17 times at this point. And like every single time there's someone crying. And why do you think that's such a big phenomenon in Finland? Is it just because everyone here was once young dating a drummer, or because there's so many metalheads in the country, or?
You know, that song has certain elements that you can connect to your own life. If you have had a relationship and heartbreak, then it can appeal to you, and also I'm sure there are a lot of people, and I know there have been babies made to Tallulah listening to the song, so certain kind of other kind of memories as well that are bound to the song. And when people can apply the meaning and the lyrics of the song in their everyday life somehow, that's when magic happens. In a way, and it's a wonderful thing, of course, you know. But it's still on my mind. Of course, when I was writing the song, and this is actually Tallulah is one of the older Sonata Arctica songs. It's way before Ecliptica, so it's sort of weird that it has later on become such an iconic Sonata Arctica track. And I think it happened with Idols when Agnes sang the song. Which year? 2005 or something like that, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe. So, Agnes Pihlava. So she made the song very...
more wider known.
More widely known in Finland, so thanks to her about that. So, yeah. And it was easy to see when we started playing the song live then that, okay, this has become a sort of a thing.
I can imagine it's kind of a special thing, particularly in Finland, playing that song, because there's just such an intense emotional reaction
but
to it.
It's not only Finland, it's everywhere pretty much, yeah.
So I've been living in Finland since 2009, and there's pretty much two things that have consistently been in every single home I've ever been in this country. One is a crumbling, well-read copy of Taru Sormusten Herrasta, and the other is a copy of Winterheart's Guild. And probably scratched from overuse and completely unplayable. And once again, this was strange to me coming from Canada, because I discovered you guys with Reckoning Night, and then I went back to Ecliptica and Silence, but somehow Canada didn't seem to know, and again, this is kind of like early social media time and internet time still, so Canada didn't seem to know about Winterheart's Guild. Like, I don't even think I knew it was part of the discography.
Yeah. French Canada probably did.
They might have. But yeah, so my chronology just kind of jumps straight from Reckoning Night. So do you recall any noticeable difference in how popular that album was locally versus internationally? Or was that just a weird phenomenon I experienced that I had no idea about that album?
I have no idea. I don't know what you're talking about. Really, I didn't notice anything. Like that.
Well, another funny thing about Winterheart's Guild that I never paid any attention to, like, the accuracy of English in any band, pretty much. And one might consider that weird because I've always been a writer and a linguist and everything, but I was just like, oh, just enjoying the music. I didn't pay that much attention. I get to Finland and everyone is super up your butt about the lyrics. And like, the Finglish and all of this stuff. And but like, it was wild to me because, like, I've even written lyrics for bands and I had never considered that the lyrics were particularly bad. In fact, Don't Say a Word has one of my long-standing favorite rhymes in it ever, so I always thought the lyrics were pretty good, personally.
Yeah, it's the metalheads. I was early on told that you can't write about this and that kind of stuff, and I'm like, why not? Because, you know, that particular song that you are whining about is the one that I get the most positive feedback. So, you know. Sorry, we can do that. And although, you know, some people love them the most, the lyrics, and of course, obviously, if there's someone who loves, there's probably someone who is bipolar in that way, on the other side of the spectrum, and hating the whole thing. But that's okay as well. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who obviously, when there have been some deeper meanings in the lyrics, some younger people are complaining or whining about something, and when it's pretty obvious that they just are not mentally able to get the essence of the song yet.
Yeah.
They will probably understand it a little bit later when they have more life experience and all that.
Yeah.
At that age, this age, I can already say that.
Yeah, there's certain wisdom that comes with just life experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Well, back when I was doing more regular music journalism, one of my staff from Musicalypse had made a comment about you guys saying, how does a guy who's been with the same woman for most of his life write so many weird and miserable love songs?
Yeah.
And so do you have any thoughts on what's inspired you lyrically and how that's changed over the years?
And I have like very wild imagination, and of course, you know, it's sort of compensating, suppose. If you have a very calm home life and you're happy there, then you know, you need sometimes contrast and that kind of stuff. Write something dark, and I'm a big movie buff as well, you know. So certain kinds of movies appeal to me, and I was never really into happiness. You know, if I was writing songs that are just happy, happy, joy, joy, love, everything is shiny, nobody would even want to hear about that. We have like one happy love song, I think, Love, which is being used as a wedding waltz, a wedding dance, and it's a beautiful thing. But writing such a song is exceedingly difficult for me. Staying on the positive side of things, it's just, you know, trauma and awful things happening and trauma. Those are the things that I thrive towards.
It actually invokes this theory I have about Johanna Kurkela, if you know her, that she's the nicest human being on earth. She's so sweet, she's so positive, and writes the most gloomy, miserable music. It's like, is that like the key to Finnish happiness, is that you put all of your misery into the art so you can just be happy afterwards?
Yeah, I suppose. You know, we all have that dark side. You know. I'm happy to hear her. I didn't really know her at all. I know of her, obviously, and who she is, but, you know, that's nice to hear. And I have some people who are sort of similar in that sense.
Well, regarding genre, I had an unusual introduction to your music because, as I mentioned, I learned about you guys in around 2006, so your latest album was Reckoning Night, and then your newest album was Unia. And so when I was like trying to, you know, describe Sonata Arctica to other Canadians or whatever who'd never heard you guys, it was the summary of those two albums that gave me an idea of your sound. And so I thought it was this really kind of interesting blend of like kind of power metal basics, but like more melodic, and then some prog elements and things like that. So I had kind of this idea that you guys were a bit like Blind Guardian, that you'd had some like really hardcore power metal albums in your early days, but then kind of evolved from that. You know, Blind Guardian got a little more heroic fantasy metal and not like speed metal like they were when they started. Then in 2009, I moved to Finland, and everyone here is like die hard. You guys are a power metal band. There was a weird phase where you got kind of prog, but don't call Sonata Arctica not a power metal band. And again, I was so weirded out by that because I moved in 2009 when the Days of Grace came out, and that was still very much more like melodic and progressive. And so I was so confused, like, what are all these stupid Finnish people talking about? This is not like power metal. Power metal's like mega shredding and even blast beats sometimes at its like purist, really. And
I like you. Speaking my mind.
so then, like, on listening back, like, after learning this, then I was like, but, like, Winterheart's Guild doesn't feel like that power metal to me, and Reckoning Night, like, yeah, there's power metal moments for sure, but they had so much, like, more melody to them and that sort of thing. So how do you guys feel about the power metal label, I guess?
We have that side definitely, but I always rather would label as melodic metal. Sort of, that would be very nice, but there is no such genre box bigger. So we've been always that odd piece of wood that doesn't fit on any of the slots really comfortably, and so power metal has been the easiest promotional tool for labels, I think.
But even though when we started, everybody was considered us power metal, but power metal back then was only like dragons and swords and
Rhapsody.
stuff like that. Yeah, Rhapsody.
It was high fantasy back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been kind of weird for me because I was like a fantasy geek, so that's kind of how metal came in really easily to me. Is Iron Maiden was singing about, you know, the flight of Icarus, and I was like, oh, that's cool, like that's the kind of music I can get into. And so I just like bands who told stories, and I didn't really care that much about like what genre it was. I don't think Iron Maiden is power metal, and I'll die on that horse. People will probably fight me, but I don't think they're power metal. And
We have been called trash metal even sometimes.
wow,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
They didn't mean the musical style, but you know, just total trash.
So another song that seems to be a cultural phenomenon here is White Pearl Black Oceans, which song is commonly treated, in my experience at least, with untouchable reverence from the locals, that like this is a perfect song, and I feel like a lynch mob will like crash through the window if I admit I like your sequel better. Like, there's.
You know what? I actually love the second one better. It's just I love the melodies better and
They're really
the
good
mood
melodies.
and everything. Yeah, so I'm with you.
But yeah, like have you noticed again, like, as much of a dedication to that song outside of Finland as there is here, or have you even noticed that people are that diehard about that song?
The real die-hard old-school fans really love this, so that we do not play live that much, that often. So it's understandable. It's a sort of holy ghost. And, like, if you have heard that song live, that's like something. Being there, you get a patch. Because we haven't played that so widely. And I'm not sure if we have even played it on every continent that we have played. Better, perhaps we have, but you know, still, yeah. There's so much fan fiction written around White Pearl Black Ocean. Some people have been talking about getting a movie idea about that, you know, and then making a movie or whatever, and that would be great. But yeah.
But I also wondered if that was a bit because that song really does have a beautiful melancholy to it. So I wonder if that's also like just a Finnish thing, that the Finns really like their beautiful melancholy. So I think one of the most fascinating songs was always the Boy Who Wanted to Be a Real Puppet. Do you know, was that just like flipping the script on Pinocchio, or?
Yeah, like reverse. The puppet who wanted to be a real boy, the boy who wanted to be a real puppet. Kind of flipping that line around like that and then trying to write a song.
I thought it was great. It was such a haunting song because I was still pretty much a teenager at the time, and I was just like, oh, damn.
Fun song to look at. They have a lot of jumpy melodies and everything. So.
Well, and that's the other reason why I couldn't figure out why you guys are still called power metal. I know that was the prog album,
Yeah, but we haven't played that song live. So had we taken all our progressive songs and just played those over and over again, and getting people used to them and finding the fans of such music genre, because playing those songs for the fans of a straight power metal, it doesn't work that well really, and you get you just need to find the right audience for the right kind of people, and that's the problem. If you are widespread, if you have like a little bit of this and that, and even the exact opposites, so it's making things a little bit difficult, but yeah.
Yeah, people kind of want you to stay in one lane, and that doesn't really allow for artistic growth.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and labels as well. You should be able to grow, but within that certain box.
Yeah. Well, now another question I have from the days of Grays at this point is that you had Johanna Kurkela singing on that song, and in hindsight, I've covered her so much in recent years since Altamulan Road got going, and she's one of my favorite artists, and that was probably the first time I ever heard her, in hindsight, because I think the second time I would have heard her would have been ages later in some other project, maybe. But how did you guys meet her?
Then Johanna came to see one of our shows, and we invited her backstage, and that's how we met for the first time. And then we got a song idea. I asked Johanna whether or not she would like to be a part of it, and yeah, sure. We always got along really well, so it was easy. She came in and sang her parts on 2 songs, and that's it. The rest is history. Beautiful history.
Incredible.
Yeah. And she's incredible.
Yeah.
She's just absolutely fantastic.
I've never met someone who is as nice as they seem in media, in real life. Next album was then Stones Grow Her Name, and I thought that one was always really interesting because I couldn't ever pin it with like another album, as it sounds kind of like this one, because different songs kind of felt like they paired with different albums in a way. So how do you think like the approach to music evolved kind of at that point where it gets really hard to pin you guys down, and then you kind of go back to more traditional power metal with Pariah's Child next?
That was an odd move, and that actually perhaps the only album that I have actually told the guys that I'm not actually sure about this thing. Are you sure this is gonna work? And Henkka replied to me, no, this is the best ever. And I was like, have we drifted too far away from what Sonata Arctica is about? Because it was once again another different kind of album, and we didn't have any consistency between albums anymore, and it was hard to connect those dots together. But the demos were there, and I was convinced that, as I liked the song, but the style was weird. But still, we decided to go in that direction, and certainly, because of that, I Have a Right, for example, and many other songs that actually are really fantastic, beautiful songs, but not necessarily what you would expect from Sonata Arctica, really. Some of them. One of the most mellow songs on that album ever from Sonata Arctica, and also one of the most extreme, so a couple of them actually. So
I feel like, kind of on that similar note, you guys have a fairly large split in your fan base between those who are the real diehard power metal people, and then those who like the melodic proggy stuff. So and it was interesting when Pariah's Child and Ninth Hour came out that anyone who was in the diehard power metal fans were like, yes, Pariah's Child, a return to form, this is the stuff, Blood is the best song ever written. And then for those who were like, yeah, I don't know, it was kind of too power metal for me, those people were like, but Ninth Hour, this is kind of, I'm into this. And after kind of going back to the power metal side, was there a reason that you pivoted again back to the melodic side after that? Or was that just kind of where the mood was at the time?
Probably just went with the mood, whatever it felt like the right thing to do. After Stones for Her Name, that was pretty obvious after the tour that we need to change something, because we were losing the people that were like the bread and butter of our shows, banging the metalheads, and getting there's nothing wrong with hipsters and such things, but we were starting to get these like university types that are not metalheads and all that, and it was started to be too mixed a crowd in the audience in that sense. You need to be. I felt like we were like bowing and showing our butt to this same crowd at the same time, and we needed to bring more energetic songs in the set list, and that's Pariah's Child. That's how it came to be, and the same effect actually now happened later on after Talia, but there was COVID of course after that still, so there were a lot of elements there, but you know. It's either just general mood or whatever songs happened to happen, or then a need to have some kind of thing for the live shows, like more new, fresh, certain types of songs. If we would need a killer ballad, I would probably write a few ballads, and we'll see which one people would like the best and bring that on the set list. But I think we're pretty much good with the ballad right now.
Well, yeah, at this point, like your latest album, Clear Cold Beyond, I do feel like it kind of had a little bit, like it didn't abandon the power metal side of things, but it did still have a lot of like nice melodies in it as well. So, do you think you'll ever be able to merge the crowds, or will they forever stay separated?
Hard to say. Maybe when they grow up.
Maybe when they stop taking stuff so seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we don't. So
yeah.
of course we do what we do seriously, but you know it's all fun and games today.
Well, do you have any surprise favorite songs from throughout the discography, or songs that you think are particularly underrated, or maybe even songs that you've forgotten over time and rediscovered?
Well, I have Silver Tongue. It's my one of favorite songs because of the melody of the chorus is really, really catchy, and I've always liked that song a lot.
Dead Skin, probably, those songs.
Well, I've noticed that, like, over the years, compared to, say, like, a lot more newer bands, you guys haven't had a whole lot of guests or collaborations over the years. So is there someone you'd love to collaborate with that you never have?
Probably, yeah. Many people we would like to interact with and have as a guest, but you know, we're just it means you need to interact with people as well. So Finn from the north and being scared of people in general, it's so much work, you know.
So like all you quiet Finnish guys like Tuomas Holopainen, you just hang out together, but you don't make music together.
Yeah. Most likely, yeah. So, but of course, you know, I can name any people now. Being a singer, it's always really scary bringing another singer to sort of wipe the floor with you. Because if I brought another singer, I would probably have her or him sing the whole album, and that's it. Yeah, but.
Do you have any like big dreams or goals for Sonata these days? I know that's a funny question to ask Finnish people because they like to keep things like reasonable.
So of course, you know, it would be nice to get another tiny rise, you know, get in a place where we could get to play bigger and better venues and have more production on stage. You know, building and performing a spectacle kind of thing. Not like Nightwish or anything, that would be like too big a dream to have, you know, but you know, something that would be bigger than the Sonata Arctica is currently. So of course I still have those ambitions and dreams, but we'll see. You know, but ultimately I would just, you know, it would be great if we get to do this thing for a living until we are ready or forced to retire.
Next 30 years.
Yeah.
Keep it going a little longer at least.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of answers my next question on if you had an unlimited budget at this point, what would you still like to do with it?
Oh wow! At least 2 different versions of the album. One orchestral with everything, and one like would be like very much just basic rock album.
Nice.
And like 2 different versions. That would be great, fantastic. And just as a recording artist would have like unlimited. Well, having a choir and a huge Hollywood-style orchestra, I suppose that's the biggest you can do, basically. So that would be great.
Fair enough. So, wrapping up now, do you know whatever became of the plaid pants?
Which one much?
The infamous plaid pants from your early touring days.
The red.
Yeah.
I still have them somewhere. Yeah, that was fun. I just wanted to shock people. It's better to be remembered or spoken about, no matter what it is. And that was my idea back in the day, to wear something weird on stage and have people talk, unless they have nothing else to talk about regarding the band. So it kept Sonata Arctica and speaks, basically. So, yeah.
Incredible. Well, to wrap up, instead of last words, because everyone I've ever asked for last words has cringed hard when the question came. So instead of that, if you had one piece of advice that you think would help make the world a better place, what do you think that would be?
Come on! Like,
Even try, please.
no, it's just... we're living such fucked up times now. Just... Come on! I took that from South Park, I think. Come on!
Guys, just get your shit together.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically it. And I think "come on" is like the whole essence of it in a nutshell. The essence in a nutshell. Yeah. Come on.
All right, well, I'll wrap this up so you can continue with your next interviews, but thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It was fun.